Hi there, welcome to the first in our Leadership Spotlight series with Coborn's. My name is Tyler. I'm the Organizational Development Specialist here at Coborn's. And joining me today is Dusty Kerssen. She is the Senior Director of Human Resources for Coborn's. Dusty, thanks so much for joining me. And how are you today?
Thank you, Tyler. I'm doing great. I'm excited to be here and help out with this initiative. So thank you.
Awesome. So let's dive right in. Our leaders today, their time's of an issue, right? Like everybody's busy. So we'll jump right in and get to it. So over the course of your career, you've had different leadership roles. And I feel like leaders of today, what it means to be a leader changes a lot, right? So what are some of the biggest lessons you've learned kind of along the way in your career that have made you into the leader you are today?
Sure. I would say that there's three primary lessons that I've learned, and the first one is, to really not assume. Whether it's not to assume that somebody knows what they're supposed to be doing, or don't assume that somebody heard you the way you wanted them to hear you, and also, don't assume the reason behind something, and really get curious and ask questions. And I think all too often, leaders and employees are on the same page, but they're not, because they don't have the conversation and understand that they want the same objective. But there's just opportunities to ask questions and really understand. So I think that is something I learned over the years, and I do ask questions and try to be more curious every day, and it has made things quite a bit easier for me. And I'd like to say my team
Yeah.
has also felt that way. The other is one-on-ones. I, the last 8 years, I've been doing one-on-ones with my team, anybody that reports to me. But before coming to Coburn's, I did not do that. And I can tell you that one-on-ones will be a part of my leadership for the rest of my career. And what's really important is to have that quick touch base, whether it's weekly or biweekly. And it can be, simply sharing what's on the agenda that week, what tasks need to get done, updating each other, getting a little personal and asking how the weekend was, and just having that interaction. In person is always best, but I know I lead a couple of people remotely, and we do WebEx sessions, and it's really easy to forget or think about the people that do very well independently on their own and don't need to be managed, to think that they don't need one-on-one time with you.
Right.
But in my experience, everybody wants a little one-on-one time with their leader, and so I did learn over the years how critical that is. It's changed my partnerships, my relationships with my team dramatically. And then the third point that I would like to talk about is empathy. I think that we need to, as leaders, we need to make sure that we put ourselves in other people's shoes and just really understand why somebody is doing something that they're doing that may be upsetting you. So, for example, if you're if a senior leader maybe rolls out an initiative and it doesn't seem to make sense to you, really, instead of being upset about it or just annoyed,
Mm.
take a second, put yourself in that leader's shoes and ask, what would be the reason why this individual would need to launch an initiative like this? And really thinking about that. And oftentimes we can talk ourselves right out of it being, ill intent.
Mhm.
And we are all on the same page. It's easy for us to forget that sometimes when our positions kind of cross over into others. And then also with our employees, having empathy to what's going on while still holding them accountable for their
Mhm.
job, but really taking that time to really understand what they have going on can really help you lead them.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think having that personal, that good relationship with your employees is something that's really important to me, right? And
It is,
So when
yeah.
you talk about the one-on-ones, like leaders out there, if you're not doing them, do them. It doesn't, just even a quick, hey, how you doing with somebody can go a long way, right, towards building that trust and that relationship. One of the things I hear a lot working in learning and development, Dusty, is from our store level leaders is we don't have time to incorporate these things into our day. We're busy. We have all these things going on, right? And we don't have time. Time is always feels like it's always a crunch for people, right? So, time management's an essential skill if you're going to be a successful leader. And well, to you, what are some of the keys to successful time management that you see our leaders do or that you use yourself?
This is a great question. For the last, I would say, 18 months, I have been really putting a lot of pressure on myself to have better work-life balance. For years and years and years, many would call me a workaholic. I didn't have any boundaries, and primarily because I enjoy my work. But it does. You do need your personal time. You need your time off, and so there's two things that I have done differently in the last 18 months that has really helped me with this. And the first is delegating. And there was this little voice in the back of my head that was saying, it'll only take you 5 minutes to do this, and it'll take you probably just as long to delegate the project out to somebody else, right? So I would just do it. And all of those five, you have 5 minutes here and 5 minutes there, and before you know it, you have an hour worth of things that you could have delegated out, right? And the other thing, I had another leader point out to me that that I may be giving the perception to my team that I don't trust them to do the job, right? If I am taking on all these small little to dos when it couldn't have been further from the truth. It was truly me almost trying to protect my people and not giving them
Mhm.
one more thing to do, right? So I put extreme focus on delegating, and I would like to say that my team is actually enjoying that I'm delegating
Mhm.
to them. They enjoy that they're more involved, and it helps us even stay more connected too. So delegating is huge, huge, huge. If you're not doing it today, I strongly recommend, and don't shy away. If something should belong to another individual to do, it's within their department, and you do it. You could be doing some damage to
Mhm.
that relationship there. The second thing is prioritizing. We work for a very fast-paced organization, and we will always have more to-dos than minutes in the day. That's just retail, right? And so really looking at I have two different to-do lists. Actually, I have three. And I have a ongoing to-do list that, just things that aren't urgent, but my wish list, if
Mhm.
you will, of things that I want to get done. And then I have a running to-do list, and then I have a priority to-do list. And my priority is absolutely must get done. In my head, I think the business will be somehow impacted if I don't get this done at timeline. And I look at that, relook at it every day, and I have to, because you have to be adaptable as a leader and think different things come up. And so when you have that new thing come up, you have to relook at your list and reprioritize. And that's really important. You can't just keep taking on more and more and more without moving something to your wish list or
Mhm.
less priority.
All right. Fantastic. And yeah, I mean, time management's so critical. And, when you struggle with it, it's almost you don't even realize you do. You just get caught in that whirlwind, right? And
Yes.
so it's not until you start to recognize and learn some of those skills that you realize how much easier this can all be if you use them, right? Um,
Yep.
you know, something in the last that's taken place in the last 10, 15 years, I feel like being a leader has changed a lot. And what it means to be a leader has changed a lot. We work in a world now where in some cases, there are 5 generations in the workplace, and that's the first time that's ever happened. And each of those generations has different, characteristics and different needs and different wants. And talk a little bit about how you think, being a leader has changed in the last 10 to 15 years.
I would say one of the biggest changes that I see, and this may be an HR perspective as well, but I'm helping leaders a lot more with understanding the risk to the organization and really having to understand at a deep level, because there's so many more compliance and employment law regulations out there that honestly a leader used to be able to really kind of understand all of them, but there's so many today that, I mean, I Google something every day, right? I can't keep up on it
Mhm.
either, but there's so many new protections, so many new regulations that we need to make sure that they are well aware of to do their job effectively.
Fantastic. So on top of that, what do you feel like some of the greatest challenges are that leaders of today face? Leaders in our company, what are some of the biggest challenges they have?
Well, you kind of hit on it when you said the five, some cases we have five generations. All of those generations, for the most part, are very different and in what they want and need from an
Right.
organization, and I would say the thing that we're having the most difficulty as a company, well, actually, I would say a lot of companies are having this trouble, is finding talent that has the right culture fit and also wants to grow and develop with the company, but put in that time needed to learn the jobs. A lot of people, I'm seeing a lot of people, if they can't have a successful promotion plan within that first year, they'll move on, and they'll move on to where they can get that. And so really trying to help people understand that it takes time to learn, different positions to grow with the company. So I think it boils down to keeping people engaged, finding the right talent and keeping them engaged to our learning plans, and being patient. You can't be CEO tomorrow, right? And I think everybody understands that, but they want that fast track.
Yeah, absolutely. And with leadership changing so much and there being so many challenges, there's bound to be some struggles, right? Like we all, the best of
Mhm.
us have experienced that. Like we've done things wrong and you look back and you learn. What are some of the biggest struggles that you find leaders have today?
I would say hands down out in the stores, our store directors, our assistant store directors, and department managers, they are stuck in the weeds of the everyday whirlwind. And either they can't get out of it due to, maybe staffing or unique circumstances in their stores, or they don't know how to get out of
Mhm.
it. And it goes back to, one of my previous comments about delegating and prioritizing. We have people that are just they're trying to protect their employees, so they're working in a deli department for an 8-hour shift rather than working their deli hard. But could they have been focused on trying to recruit and hire during that eight
Mhm.
hours versus being in that department helping, or stocking groceries on a Saturday versus attending, a talent fair or a career fair, right? And so I think all of our leaders have great intentions when they're on the floor working with their team and trying to help carry the weight, but it does prevent them from attending to their leadership role, right? And I think that balance is definitely a challenge right now in our
It's
company.
hard, especially when some of the benefits of investing in the things you're talking about you don't see for a little while, right?
Right.
It's more of a long game there. Whereas going and stocking shelves, you
Mm-hmm.
see the benefit of that right now, and the
Mm-hmm.
task gets done. So it's easy to fall into that trap. I 100% agree. So knowing that it's tough to be a new leader, and somebody might be going into a new role today, thinking, "How am I going to do this? I'm good at these things, but these other things, I'm learn as I go." And there's going to be some challenges for people. What, if you could give advice to a brand new leader in our company today, what are three things you tell
Brand new leader, I would say focus on your engagement in your location. Have fun.
them?
Make sure there are people focused on bringing that engagement in the workplace. We all know that there's there's hiring wars out there, right? And employer, you can work at McDonald's for $15 an hour, right? So why will people want to work for us? Because they have fun at work. They are a good culture fit, and so how are we the greatest place to work? I would focus on that for sure. Within the store, I would say that it's critical to focus on development and career planning with your employees. I call it succession planning. We should have a plan in each department. And it'll take time. I mean, it's not something you can do right away today, but every department should have a successor, somebody that is identified and that we're working towards getting them ready to be able to not necessarily run that department, but a department, within the store. At minimum, we should have 3 people in every store ready to develop. And I know that's easier said than done, but I would focus on that piece, and then setting clear expectations. I think sometimes we assume, going back to that, assuming that someone knows what they're supposed to be doing in their role, or that they know what the expectation is, and people don't. Oftentimes, we're not connected. We're not in sync with each other. So making sure that you sit down and as a new leader and let that team know what you expect, and it may be different than the previous leader. And so our people need to understand what they expect, what you expect of them, so that they can succeed.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks so much. And that's about all the time we have, I think. But thank you so much for taking some time today. Again, Dusty Kerssen, the Senior Director of Human Resources here at Coborn. Thank you for joining us, or joining me, I should say. And this is the first of our Coborn's Leadership Spotlight series. Look for more videos later on our YouTube channel. But for today, that's all we have. Thanks so much, and have fun in the store.
Thank you, Tyler.